retired Air Force vet's rant going viral over his message to those anti-Trump protesters you see on the street.
Quit being crybabies. Ain't nothing free. You ain't no slave. You don't get your way. So you act like a 2-year-old, burning up people's stuff, destroying the streets, making people late for work.
That video has already been seen by more than 17 million people as protests continue all across our country.
And joining us right now is the guy who held up his smartphone and recorded that video a couple of days ago, retired U.S. Air Force vet Thaddeus Alexander. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so what was it that drove you to taking out your smartphone and talking into it for about a minute?
Well, I've been doing videos for a while discussing how divided the country is. And then after this election, it just, during the whole process, they were talking about how Republicans were angry, they want to have guns, they want to kill babies, and this, that, and the other. And then when their candidate loses, they do exactly what they said that we do. And I just thought it was so hypocritical. It just amazed me of how people reacted.
Thaddeus, if you looked at the polls, everyone thought Hillary Clinton was going to win because people were so scared to say out loud that they were voting for Donald Trump. People thought that others would consider them racist. So what is your reaction now from your friends, Democrats and Republicans, after that video?
Well, most of my friends, a lot of people talk to me on a serious note besides seeing me on a comedy stage, but we knew he was going to win because when you have, and no offense to you guys, but if you have a white lady on CNN saying that who the black man is going to vote for, there's no way she could know that. You might want to talk to a lot of black men to find out. But so I think that was very shocking.
Yeah.
And saying that white females wouldn't vote for Trump, which was also incorrect. So I think a lot of people knew what was going on, and we all knew how we felt. I have a lot of followers, so I pretty much knew he was going to be in there. But my video wasn't about Trump at all.
No, part of it was, though, Thaddeus, was directed at the people who now, after their candidate lost, you're saying, we're tired of you crybabies. Your candidate lost. Let's come on and embrace America. That's what makes America great.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, I didn't vote for Obama. As a matter of fact, I didn't vote for either. So I didn't complain for the past 8 years because I didn't vote for the president-elect. But nobody rioted when he won. So,
right.
Nobody did that. And this is just outrageous.
What was the reaction from your Republican and Democratic friends?
Well, a lot of people know that I'm not a guy that's afraid of I'm not afraid of anything. So, people kind of tread with me lightly. A lot of my Republican friends came out the woodworks and they were proud of what I was saying. And a lot of Democratic friends just didn't say anything at all. I haven't had any negative backlash.
Thaddeus, we know you're a U.S. Air Force vet. Why are you proud of the United States of America?
Well, I look at it like this. Being a black man, there is no other country where we're accepted like we are in the U.S. I mean, people may think so. I've had friends say they will go back to Africa. Well, everybody knows if you're a black man, you're not accepted in Africa. You're not African. It's just not going to work like that. We have a country where this is the only place where you can be openly gay or homosexual. There's nowhere else to go. So to preserve that right, we need to preserve this country. We need to stop burning flags. We need to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we need to be proud of what we have here.
Amen.
There you go. Thaddeus, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to meet the man behind the video. If you haven't seen the video, go to our website, foxandfriends.com, and we'll link to it.
Yeah, thanks for fighting for our country, being brave, and speaking out. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thaddeus. All right, coming up straight ahead on this here edition of Fox and Friends, we've got your all-American lineup. We got Governor Scott Walker. We got former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who could be in the president's cabinet.
It is a potpourri of personalities.
This is a killer. We love that. We love Willie. So we got a busy final hour here of Fox and Friends coming up. First up, though, let's start with the big political news, and that is late in the day, the Trump transition team announced that Reince Priebus would be the new chief of staff, and Steve Bannon, formerly of Breitbart, formerly of Goldman Sachs, formerly of Hollywood, would be his chief strategist. It's interesting. Mainstream media, for the most part, has said Mr. Priebus, great pick, but Steve Bannon, he's a bad guy, mainstream media says.
Because he worked for Breitbart. Many people are saying they're a good team because one is establishment, one has a lot of connections in Washington, and that he is not afraid to forcefully, Bannon I'm talking about, forcefully go up to Donald Trump and say, this is wrong, or this is right, and this is what you need to do.
Yeah, and a lot of things that Donald Trump got right in the last few months, a lot of people was because Steve Bannon felt comfortable telling him directly, if you don't listen to me, we're not going to win, and he did, and they did. Meanwhile, I could see the outrage in late August when Steve Bannon was first in there because we didn't know much about him, and we just heard reputation. But didn't he prove something over the last 3 months that he could be part of a team and maybe lead a team behind the scenes? Also, I wish I had a fraction of his resume. This is like the best resume I've ever seen.
Right, served our country, Harvard
Naval
Business
officer.
School.
You know, the other thing is Steve Bannon was able to go into the Trump team, and they won, ultimately. So while he is pushing forward the populist ideas that got Donald Trump the keys to Air Force One, it will be Reince Priebus who will be in charge of, since he's the establishment guy, and he's known for years, Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, he's going to go to Capitol Hill, and he's going to get things done. Keep in mind, Reince will also help him with Mitch McConnell, because both Mitch McConnell and Speaker Ryan told Donald Trump, you know what? You need Reince Priebus as your chief of staff. And Reince Priebus helped Mitch McConnell retain his majority in the U.S. Senate.
And
so they both owe him.
And help Paul Ryan and Scott Walker
Sure.
get elected. He went to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. He was student body president there. He got his law degree at the University of Miami. He was the former chairman of the Republican Party of Wisconsin. So he has a lot of pull in Washington.
Yeah, he joined us a short time ago and talked about the agenda of Donald Trump.
It's really important that all Americans understand that he is a president for everyone. He wants to make everyone proud, whatever your race, ethnic background, gender, anything. In 20 years, we want every American, no matter who you are, to look back at President Trump and say, wow, this person did an incredible job, and he led our country with honor and dignity. That's what President Trump wants, and we just want everyone to know that.
You know, we did see President Trump and his family on 60 Minutes last night. Leslie Stahl did the interrogation. She made it very clear. She wanted to know about what he was going to do. Was he going to deport all those people? And Donald Trump made it very clear he will deport 2 or 3 million illegals who have been convicted of criminal offenses.
You know,
they are out.
You know, the one thing I always see, I remember these interviews, they're usually done on 60 Minutes, and I remember them being done in a much more positive vein. It was like, hey, congratulations, you shocked the world, you won this, now let's expand on this. There was just no joy and happiness in the questions, but there were certainly in the answers. And Donald Trump talked about something that we've heard about. A lot of the protests are in and around Trump properties. A lot of people are saying, well, I'm part of the 50% that didn't vote for him, so I'm not going to go to his golf course or his hotel or rent his condos. Did that matter? Listen.
Let me ask whether any of you think that the campaign has hurt the Trump brand.
Who cares? Who cares? This is big league stuff. This is our country. Our country is going bad. We're going to save our country. I don't care about hotel occupancy. It's peanuts compared to what we're doing. Healthcare, making people better. It's unfair what's happened to the people of our country, and we're going to change it. As simple as that.
Meanwhile, Ivanka's like, excuse me, Dad, a little
right.
easy on the who cares.
Right, 'cause
Don
I have a
Jr.'s like,
brand,
yeah, excuse me, someone's got to be working around here.
Sure.
Right.
So if he's going to be the President of the United States for the next 4 years, each year he is entitled to the presidential salary of $400,000. But here's the thing. This is the first time we've ever had a billionaire as president. How much of that money is he going to take? All of it, right? Here's Leslie Stahl once again.
Work. There's so much work to be done. So I don't think we'll be very big on vacations, no.
Are you going to take the salary, the president's salary?
Well, I've never commented on this, but the answer is no. I think I have to, by law, take $1, so I'll take $1 a year, but I don't even know what it is. Do you know what the salary is?
$400,000.
I think,
You're
no,
giving
I'm not
up.
going to take the salary. I'm not taking it.
Two things I got from that. Number one, he didn't know the salary.
Right.
When you get a new job, you know the salary, especially if it's $400,000. That's how wealthy he is. And the second thing is, she started out that soundbite by saying, "Are you going to take any vacations?" Hinting around like, does the president now take too many vacations? That's what I gathered from it.
Really?
Meanwhile, isn't he playing golf?
I don't
Wasn't
think
he playing
she'd
golf
ever
for a
lead
week?
to anything
The president
negative on
did, yeah.
President Obama, but I think one thing you have is a workaholic as president.
Sure.
Yeah.
He never stops.
I
Never
think-
sleeps.
I think a lot of people have asked him since Wednesday, and he won. They probably said, okay, between now and inauguration, you're going to take a little time off, right? No.
He said no.
No, he's got too many jobs to fill. It sounds like there's a real good possibility
he
we could
doesn't-
know about the cabinet by the end of the week.
And he's never had a sip of alcohol in his life. So while many people coming off the weekends, you might say, I wanted to have a productive weekend, but then one glass of wine led to another. You might not have gotten all your chores and all your duties done around the house. He does not drink.
I
So-
think we're seeing just a little window into your world.
No, I have a friend. I have a friend
I have a
who was
friend.
telling me they did that this weekend.
Right. And do we have a picture of that friend? Look like your
I'll
headshot,
have
like
to
on the
look
side of the building?
Yes, his name is Brian Kilmeade.
Right. Thanks you for outing me. Real quick, he's going to be the one like Bill Clinton making calls at 1 a.m. just to build bridges and get to know people. Bill Clinton did the same thing.
Yeah, but
he
Bill
got
Clinton-
up late.
Bill Clinton didn't have Twitter, and I thought it was really interesting because Leslie Stahl, of course, part of the mainstream media, she's badgering him about his use of Twitter. And he goes, look, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, the other thing he had, that's right. He said, that's just how people communicate these days, and I'm going to use that platform. He said he had tens of millions of followers, and he's going to continue with it, which makes perfect sense because then he can get his message out without the filter of the mainstream media. I've got a feeling we're going to know more about what Donald Trump really feels than any president in a very long time.
How do we find out what Heather really feels?
We just ask her. We
just
turn
ask
that
me,
way.
Brian.
How do
How do
you
you
really
feel? I'll
feel?
tell you anything. This is great. This is great. Best day
All right,
ever, right?
good.
All right. Good morning.
Fantastic.
Good morning, everybody. Start out with a couple headlines as with a Fox News alert to begin with. An alarming new terror threat. ISIS calling for attacks on Americans here on Thanksgiving Day. The terror group urging followers to leave a trail of carnage by mowing down people with trucks at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade here in New York City. A call to action eerily similar to the Bastille Day attack in Nice, where 86 people died in France after they were mowed down by a truck. U.S. officials say they are on alert, but there is no specific threat at this point. Hundreds gathering to honor a Northern California sheriff's deputy killed in an execution-style shooting. Deputy Dennis Wallace, a 20-year veteran of that force, was shot twice point-blank in the head after he pulled over a suspect in a stolen car yesterday. That suspect, David Mikado, police refer to him as a known criminal. He was caught a few hours later. Deputy Wallace was the fifth officer killed in California in the past 2 months. Outgoing Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid is offering up his pick for the next DNC chair. Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison. Reid saying that the first Muslim elected to Congress is, quote, a terrific leader and a strong progressive who knows how to get things done. Now is the time for new thinking and a fresh start at the DNC. Democrats are looking to unseat embattled DNC interim chair Donna Brazile. Brazile under fire for being exposed in WikiLeaks for leaking debate questions to the Hillary Clinton camp while Brazile was working at CNN. Well, this hasn't happened in 70 years, and if you didn't get to see it outside last night's supermoon, you'll have to wait again until the year 2034. Spectacular sight captured in these breathtaking photos. It wasn't just professional photographers who did it. We had a whole lot of Fox and Friends viewers sending in a bunch of incredible shots, and those are your headlines. Love seeing this weekend.
It's really pretty.
So gorgeous.
I was landing at LaGuardia last night, just as that was coming up, and I looked out the window to the east, and I thought, oh, look, there's the sun. It was the moon. It was that
Steve.
bright.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Very neat. See you guys.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Heather. Well, coming up, the story is terrifying. An entire town is at risk for cancer. How in the world does that happen?
No kidding. You're going to want to know about that. And President-elect Donald Trump is the first Republican to win the state of Wisconsin in 32 years. Was Governor Scott Walker his...
We know for sure that with a White House with Donald Trump in, a House and a Senate controlled by Republicans, there's no end for the good that we can do for this state and this country.
If people want to know why a Republican won Wisconsin, they have to look no further than Governor Scott Walker. He was a competitor against Donald Trump. He wanted to be the nominee when he wasn't. We didn't hear from him for a while, but when you got in big. Governor, you delivered Wisconsin. Do you think that your role was a pervasive one in that going the Republicans' way?
Well, we did, and it was really a team effort. In fact, the last 5 weeks, we did 1 million contacts with voters compared to 4 years ago, when we did about 415,000. So it was Brad Courtney and our state party. It was Ron Johnson and his team. But we took what we did in 2014, turned it over to the party to help our U.S. Senate candidate, to help our nominee. And it paid off big in the end when Donald Trump and Mike Pence came in a lot, and we stood with them.
It did, but it all happened in the end. For a while, Ron Johnson was double digits down. You were on the sideline. Paul Ryan was not speaking to Donald Trump. What changed?
Well, we really stepped up after the convention and saw it was clear at that point, no matter what people had thought, it was a difference between whether Hillary Clinton was going to win or whether Donald Trump was going to win. In fact, Mike Pence did his first solo visit to any state in Wisconsin. I joined him right away. Mike is a great longtime friend, and we helped him with debate prep. And then we brought Donald Trump in a number of times. And even at the end, you know, Paul Ryan was there, the whole team was there, and we brought people home realizing that they really wanted to shake Washington up, and they weren't going to get it with the opposition.
What do they want? When I look at Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, I say, wow, why did they switch? What do they want? What do the people of Wisconsin want President-elect Trump to do first?
Well, it was simple. I mean, I think you saw a lot of voters said, hey, the rich get taken care of, the poor get taken care of, but the middle class kind of gets it. And they wanted someone who's going to step up and look out for them. So they want the economy to get back, and they want to be a part of the recovery. To me, that means getting rid of all the executive orders, the overwhelming amount of bad executive orders that this president took. Things like the so-called Clean Power Plan are devastating to states like Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, that rely heavily on the industrial corridor and manufacturing. And then Obamacare. We hear it from our small business owners all the time. Right. It is not affordable. Even Mark Dayton, the Democrat governor of Minnesota, said the Affordable Care Act is no longer affordable. They got to take care of that right away.
True, but not many people, including you, would have thought before Obamacare that our healthcare system was on the glide path to success. It had to be addressed. So how do you do it responsibly and without party politics involved?
Well, we laid out a plan. In fact, one of the guys, Andrew Bibberg, who worked in my campaign, is helping in the transition. And we believe that they're going to take some of the principles we used, which were very much a market-driven, credit-based analysis that allows people to get access to affordable health care, but without the government being the dictator of it. What people want is to be able to make decisions themselves and for their families. We can do that in a way that allows us as patients to have skin in the game. That's really what's going to help control health care costs, not the government dictating it to us.
Governor Christie had a lot of success as chairman of the Republican Governors Association. As you know, you got 34, I think I'm right, 34 Republican governors right now. You're about to take that over. What is your focus?
Well, it's twofold. One, we think there's incredible possibilities with this new president and with the House and Senate majorities to not only have them help them with their success, but to help transfer more power and responsibility to the states and ultimately to the people, where it's more effective, more efficient, and definitely more accountable. That can be transformational. Right. And then as we do that, I think it helps us at the 2 races in Virginia and New Jersey next year, and then the 36 races for governor, the whole enchilada that comes up in November of 2018. We're going to be ready for it.
Governor, over the weekend, it was tweeted out that Mitt Romney, all 3 Bushes, Jeb, George, 43 and 41, all reached out, and Kasich reached out to Donald Trump. How important was that?
Well, it is. I think as Americans, and I hope it wouldn't be just some of the Republicans along the way. I would hope the Democrats and independents right now, let's give the guy a shot. I think one of the best things he can do is remember something I said to the new Republican majority 6 years ago in Wisconsin, a week after the election. I came in when we had just gone from all Democrat to all Republican. I said it's put up or shut up time, meaning the voters had had their say. They wanted a change, and now it was time to deliver. And we did. In our case, there are more people employed in our state in Wisconsin than ever before. If he acts quickly like we did and other states did, he'll be successful.
Right, and that's true. You now have the power. It's game on, so everyone's going to be watching. Hopefully it works out for the country. Governor Scott Walker, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations on the new job, too. Meanwhile, wildfires raging in Tennessee, and cops blame Facebook. Wait until you hear why. And Willie Robertson says he has one very special thing in common with President-elect Donald Trump. He will join us to explain. Remember, Willie was at Trump Tower after he got the nomination. Every time there's a big event, Willie's involved. Why is that?
We have some quick headlines for you. The first of 9 Minnesota men convicted of plotting to join ISIS in Syria being sentenced today. The defendants, all young Somali Americans from Minneapolis. They started recruiting each other and planning overseas trips back in 2014. They face anywhere from 15 years to life behind bars. And it could be a while before disgraced Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl gets his day in court. A judge considering delaying his trial since the defense wants more time to dig through classified evidence. And Bergdahl faces life in prison for desertion of walking off his post in Afghanistan and being captured by the Taliban. We later traded 5 Taliban prisoners for his release.
All right, you know him. His name is Willie Robertson, and Robertson. That is his name.
You don't know
and
me, but
he's been a friend of the show for a very long time. You know him from Duck Dynasty. He's got a brand new book out. It's called American Fisherman.
That's it.
And we're going to talk about the book in a minute. But over the last year, you've been kind of a political guy.
Have I?
You have. You end up in the middle of every
I kind of
major
pop
event.
up in odd places, I guess. Yeah.
Look at this video of you with Donald Trump during the whole primary process. You're on stage.
This was the creepy one. This is like the guy that doesn't belong right there.
You're like, what am I doing? I think I'm his running mate if I get any closer.
I was trying to stay out of that camera. I was trying to watch where that camera was, and but no, they spotted me right there like a shoplifter. Look at me.
You're wearing the same shirt, I think.
Am I?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah, that was the day, because you said you bought it at the Gap, remember?
Dang it, I've got to get another assistant.
Right. We all know Duck Dynasty's really, you have a Gap deal, right? Most of you guys wear Gap clothing.
Well, no, only when I'm here. Well, after you wore those pajama camouflage pants you wore down to our house.
Macy's has real camouflage pants. We all know that.
Macy's camo.
What did you think when you woke up that morning? As we were talking in the hallway, you thought Hillary was going to win, and you woke up that morning, and it was Donald Trump.
Everybody kept asking me for the last 6 months, who did I? It was like, do you think he can win? I was like, of course I think, of course. Right. And the day of, I thought, I don't know that he can. I'm not sure. And so then I said, I think she's going to win. I was already preparing myself. I tried to stay up late, and then the last thing I saw was Wisconsin, and we jumped up. We're like, this is really going to happen. So I went to bed and woke up and thought, this is insane.
Sure, but you were like a lot of people. The mainstream media, for weeks have been saying she was going to win. He's so far behind.
He had
the
no
polls.
chance. It was like
He had
zero
no chance. And the exit polls were wrong, which said she would win, and everybody was going to declare that at 11 o'clock, but then the polls changed.
I'm not.
It was an interesting trip for you, though, politically, because in the beginning, you actually were supporting Bobby Jindal.
I was with Bobby. Well, he's my friend. He's been on an episode of Duck Dynasty, and so I was with him. But he wasn't picking up the traction. I love Trump. I started watching Trump, and then I actually met him and got to hang out with him. And I thought, wow, this is like a normal guy. He wasn't that same
for a billionaire
stiff. Well, yeah, right. For a stiff. He wasn't that stiff politician, and so I hung out with him. We had Donald Trump Jr. came down. He hunted with us a few days. He impressed my father. Then my father is back in crew, so then it got really interesting. At the dinner table, and so my wife, I think, she loved Ben Carson, which I did too. So it was all these things, and then I kept with Trump, and then he emerged out, and look at here.
And you converted your entire family. Now,
you look like the genius at your table.
Well, you know.
You're used to that.
Willie, I want to talk about your brand new book, The American Fisherman. Can we identify with this if we didn't grow up shooting ducks and catching fish? Like, for example, me.
I wasn't going to call you out, but yes.
The Long Island guy.
Yeah, because that's what I love. I love to take children out and seeing that first experience. So children, Brian, anybody like that, I would love to have that first experience of just pulling a fish out of the water. I mean, it was going to change your life.
Right. No, I do like fishing, just no one takes me. That's the problem.
I think that we're hinting around. You're going down to Louisiana. And you're going to go fishing.
I got the pants.
Get the pants, and we'll get you a cool fishing shirt. You can go to the mall and buy your fishing shirt.
He'll be the hunter that comes out decked in orange.
And I'm going to take you out. But no, it's actually the history of fishing. There's some interesting stories.
It's not a how-to fish book.
No, it's not a how-to.
It's how fish actually changed
How the
America.
fishing industry, right?
For instance, next week is Thanksgiving. Fish actually saved the Pilgrims.
That's it. Well, the Native Americans actually brought fish to the first Thanksgiving because they went and brought all these
I
fish
love
in.
it.
So you
'Cause
had
all the stores
turkey,
were closed.
fish. Yeah, oh yeah.
And
George
there-
Washington was a commercial fisherman. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
And that was actually his most successful
Well, you
business.
talk about a lot of presidents in here.
A lot of
41,
presidents.
Bush 41, Bush 43. You have some pictures of them fishing together.
FDR, there's a whole
FDR.
chapter. And what I love about him is he would basically use the United States Navy as his ride out fishing. He would just jump on.
That's
No,
smart.
for real. And they had it rigged out for him, and they would go out and he'd go fishing. That's how he kind of got away from all the stresses.
For any other person, this is more than enough for a segment. But you have another announcement to make.
I do. Well, our new shows are coming out. We have Duck Dynasty starting Wednesday, and also a new show, Going Cyril.
What do you mean?
It's a new show. I'm Cy's sidekick.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But it's his show. Yeah, and he's exploring the internet, which he doesn't have a computer, a cell phone, and so it's
So
it's
rather
funny.
than-
It's a funny show.
Rather than viral, it's going Cyril.
Right.
Who came up with that?
Who knows? Some smart person, not me.
We love your whole family. We love your wife.
And there's a big announcement on the show. We have from Duck Dynasty. We have a big announcement that's coming up. The family made an annountment, so everybody needs to tune
Someone's
in.
getting married.
Wow.
Someone's getting married.
That's not a big announcement. That happens every other month.
It's a big family. At 20 years old, we
At
love
20
your family.
well, yeah,
The
sometimes
oldest person to
21.
get married and their family's 21.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, at that point, everybody starts thinking, is something wrong with them?
So, I love your wife. You said she has something in common with Melania Trump. What is it?
What did I say? They're both. Oh, they're better looking than their husbands. I said that about. Yeah. I mean, Mr. Trump and I are smart guys. Let's face it. Look at our wives.
Right, absolutely. Fantastic.
We're not stupid, although we look dumb.
No, you're not. You're
All right,
absolutely
so
not. You're
check
both
out his brand new
geniuses.
book, American Fisherman. Check out the new season of Duck Dynasty. It starts Wednesday. And check out Going Cyril.
Going Cyril starts Wednesday.
And I talked to you on the radio at the top of the hour. I can't wait. We'll really bond.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Have you noticed what you do to people? We're all just like grinning from ear to ear. You have the best personality, the coolest family.
It's all right.
We
It's
love
not a
y'all.
great personality. It's
It's
good.
we're still going to be on the radio, so
Okay,
watch
fine.
out. Wear those pants, those camouflage
I'm gonna-
pajamas. I love those.
Please don't talk about my pants anymore. I'm uncomfortable.
Thanks, Willie.
All right, coming up next on the Rundown, Reince Priebus is President-elect Trump's chief of staff. Will Newt Gingrich be next? The former speaker joins us live.
Yeah, we'll fish for an answer.
And he give us one too.
So he's sticking around for that tax break. The former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, joins us live. Good morning to you, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Rather than ask you for a theatrical review of Saturday Night Live, how about a chat regarding the decision that Reince Priebus is going to be the new chief of staff at the White House? Steve Bannon, formerly of Breitbart, is going to be his chief strategist. What do you think about that? Because the mainstream media doesn't like Steve Bannon. They say he's a bad guy. But, Reince has been establishment for a long time.
Well, let me just start and say that everybody who is for Donald Trump and everybody who wants Donald Trump to succeed should cue off the mainstream media. If the mainstream media hates something, it's probably a really good idea. Let's be clear that they are the mortal opponents of what Trump is trying to achieve. Steve Bannon is a very smart guy. He was a naval officer. He was a managing partner at Goldman Sachs. He made a series of movies, has great connections in Hollywood, and he ran Breitbart. And they now want to come back and say that anything anybody ever published in Breitbart is Steve Bannon. That's baloney. That'd be like accusing the publisher of the New York Times of being responsible for the dumbest thing his newspaper ever did, which would be a lot of things, by the way. Bannon, I thought it was a great decision because I think that Reince has the right personality for a day-to-day, keep the machine running, get everybody in the room that has to be there, make sure you're touching every base you need to. He is a great natural leader of a political system. He did probably the most important RNC chairman of modern times. He had 7,500 people in the field, and that was the secret grassroots army that the Democrats never counted on when they would look at the Trump campaigns. You had Trump in the media and in social media, and you had Priebus running this grassroots army, and it was a terrific combination. And Reince will be great. Bannon is a great strategist. I mean, people need to understand, for Trump to succeed, all he's done by winning this election is he got a ticket to the dance. And now he's got 4 to 8 years of dancing. And guys like Bannon can help him think ahead, can design the key fight. There'll be a series of very big key fights. I think you had Scott Walker on a while ago, and that's a perfect example. When Walker decided to reform the unions in Madison, he had 100,000 people in the streets. The Capitol was occupied for 6 months, and he and his wife Tonette both got death threats. If Trump's going to try to reform the civil service so he can actually manage the federal government, that's the kind of fight where a guy like Bannon can shape the whole field, think through all the components, keep the machine focused while Reince keeps the machine running. I think it's going to be a very good team.
All right, you had a big role in getting Trump elected. What's going to be your role going forward now that he's the president-elect?
Well, I actually want to be the chief planner. I'm trying to figure out, it's January 2025. We're turning over a very successful government to the next Republican president. What have we done right? Why are the American people sticking with us? Why is America beginning to be a great country again? And I think that you have to have an ability, which I did a little bit with Reagan and a whole lot as Speaker of the House. You have to have an ability to look beyond the immediate fight and figure out how does that fit the long-term goals. And that's what I really want to focus on.
So are you creating your idea for a position? Did anyone hold a position like that before?
I think there have been a couple people. Colonel House did it for Woodrow Wilson, would be an example. Harry Hopkins did it for Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But it's not a very normal position. But frankly, this is not going to be a very normal presidency. For Trump to succeed, he's going to do a whole lot of things nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, he wants to drain the swamp. He wants to clean up Washington. He was on 60 Minutes talking about how bad he doesn't like, or how much he doesn't like lobbyists. Listen to this, and we'll get your reaction.
You said that lobbyists own politicians because they give them money. You admitted you used to do it yourself. You have a
when you say
transition team.
lobbyists and special interests.
And you want to get rid of all of that.
I don't like it, no.
You don't like it. But your own transition team is filled with lobbyists.
It's the only people you have down there.
You have lobbyists from Verizon. You have lobbyists from the oil gas industry. You have food lobby.
Everybody's a lobbyist down there. That's what they are. They're lobbyists. They're special
on your
interests.
own transition
We're trying
team.
to clean up Washington. Look,
how can you clean
everything down there? There are no people. They're all people that work. That's the problem with the system. The system. Right now, we're going to clean it up.
Did he make a mistake?
With what?
Hiring lobbyists?
No, look, I mean, first of all, he didn't hire many of them. A lot of them are volunteers. But Trump has the classic challenge. The challenge Reagan had, the challenge we had in 1994. On the one hand, you want to really shift Washington dramatically. On the other hand, you've got to figure out how to work with Washington because it's a huge system. You're not going to be able to wave a magic wand and change it overnight. But I do think that it's clear, by the way, his feelings towards lobbyists are very much like George Washington, who really wanted us to have a government that worried about the nation. It didn't worry about partisan factions. And I think you're going to see Trump reach out to people like Chuck Schumer and really try to find a way to work with rational Democrats. You can't work with people like Harry Reid, who are irrational, but you can find rational Democrats who don't want to spend the next 8 years in opposition achieving nothing.
Lastly, I just got to ask you: Did you bring up your idea for a job to Donald Trump yet, and what did he say?
He just look. He said we're going to talk later on. I first mentioned it to him when we were discussing the vice presidency, and he said, "Well, you know, if you don't end up as vice president, what would you like to do?" I did some of this before for Don Rumsfeld at the Defense Department, for Tommy Thompson at Health and Human Services during the Bush administration. Because of my background, having been in the Congress, Speaker of the House, and then having worked as an advisor in the Bush administration, I think I probably bring a different historic perspective to this than most people. And I think to really achieve the goals Trump wants to achieve, you've got to have a fair amount of strategic planning. You can't just do it one day at a time.
All right. He could be the chief planner for the scheduler, planner, whatever. They will work out the exact business card.
I wouldn't worry about the title.
Yeah, all right.
You'll do something. Thanks a lot, Newt.
Maybe we
Appreciate
just say
it.
Newt.
Yeah.
Just say Newt.
Newt.
All right.
From Mr. Speaker to Mr. CP.
He's going to be involved. Meanwhile, straight ahead, are Democrats about to say so long to Nancy Pelosi? The party shakeup is brewing, and we'll give you the latest live from Washington. That'll be next.
And the New York Times slammed President-elect Donald Trump every day during the campaign. This morning, they have a new message for him. We're sorry. Should other media outlets jump on board? That's coming up.
Back to to Fox and Friends. Tens of thousands of people scared for their lives as deadly levels of toxic chemicals are found in the water source. Look at this from Newburgh, New York. Mandatory blood tests are now being ordered for the 28,000 residents who live there. That's an upstate community already hit hard by poverty. Residents there are demanding answers after a toxin was linked to several forms of cancer and also birth defects. A state of emergency declared in Tennessee as wildfires rage throughout several states in the southeast, most of them suspected arsons. This man, Johnny Mullins, arrested in Kentucky. Police say that he set fires to get Facebook likes. The aspiring weatherman confessing he wanted to live stream the weather report on social media. A charity comedy show got pretty serious when the comedian Wanda Sykes went after the president-elect. Watch this.
This is not the first time we've elected a racist, sexist, homophobic president. He ain't the first one. He's just the first confirmed one. That's it.
Oh my. Well, Sykes was booed pretty loudly. The tense moments even sparking fights in the crowd. After her rant, she stormed off stage. And those are your headlines. Steve, Brian, and Ainsley. Steve, come on. Get in position right there. All right. There we go. Back on the curvy couch.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Meanwhile, 14 minutes before the top of the hour. Are Nancy Pelosi's days numbered or not? Several Democrats say it may be time for a quick change of leadership.
And Kristen Fisher is live in Washington, and Steve's knee is in this picture. We think, Kristen. We're all here, actually. We wanted to say hey to you. You're live in Capitol Hill.
Hey, guys. I see
Kristen.
y'all. How you doing?
Good.
So, we all know this was a very tough election for House Democrats. Nancy Pelosi herself has even called it a very sad and trying time. So, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that some members aren't sold on her staying on as minority leader. About 20 of them are now asking her to delay their leadership elections, which were originally set for this Thursday. Now, they're not explicitly calling for a change in leadership yet, but they are saying that they at least want some time to talk about it. Quote, "It is vital that our caucus take the time to listen to the American people and learn the lessons of this difficult election." Now, there's also a separate contingent of House Democrats that wants Pelosi to stay on as minority leader. About 40 of the 54 women in the Democratic Women's Caucus say with Donald Trump in the White House, they want a woman to lead them. And indeed, with Clinton's defeat, Pelosi would remain the most powerful woman in U.S. politics. But first, she needs to convince a majority of all House Democrats, especially younger and more recently elected members, that she's still the right person for this job after this tough election. Brian, Ainsley, and Steve?
All right, Kristen, thank you very much. Good to know.
All right, yeah, we'll see if she withstands. I just don't know who steps in if she was to move over. Meanwhile, 12 minutes before the top of the hour now, which is 2 minutes since I gave the last time check. The New York Times slammed President-elect Donald Trump every chance they could during his campaign. I don't know if you've noticed. Anybody? I didn't think so. This morning, a change of heart. Should other media outlets jump on board?
And it is 8:48 here on the East Coast. But first, let's check in with Martha to see what's coming up at the top of the hour. Hey, Martha.
Hello there, Ainsley. Good morning, you guys. It's the first full week after the election, and the Trump team is getting down to business with their first two appointments, Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon. We expect more news to come, so stay tuned this morning. Great lineup for you. Karl Rove is here, Sean Spicer of the RNC, Jason Miller of the Trump team, all here. Also, author J.D. Vance joins us. He wrote Hillbilly Elegy, and it was a prescient look at how Trump won. We'll talk to him this morning. And for those who are not happy with the outcome of the election, how about a trip to Mars? The new Nat Geo series takes us there, and it is really cool, so we're going to show you that. We'll show you a sneak peek when we join you at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
In the wake of President-elect Donald Trump's victory, many in the media issuing a mea culpa, even the New York Times, the publisher writing in a letter to readers, quote, "As we reflect on this week's momentous results and the months of reporting and polling that preceded it, we aim to rededicate ourselves to the fundamental mission of Times journalism." Yeah, right. Good one. Here to weigh in is Fox News contributor, Fox and New York Times, New York Post columnist, Michael Goodwin.
A New York Times alum.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, so the New York Times said, you know what? Hey, readers, we kind of blew it on Trump. We didn't realize how popular he was. Now, going forward, because Donald Trump has had a non-traditional relationship with the press, how would you like to see him handle the mainstream media going forward?
Well, you know, Steve, the way the White House has traditionally worked with the major media organizations is that they get called in sort of on background and be given the president's thinking. They get a lot of briefings, they get scoops.
Sure.
Because they are handed by the White House, both Democrats and Republicans, which wants to put them out via CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post. I'm calling on Trump to break that model. He doesn't need those people. He cannot count on them.
They are a filter. They are filtering and then slanting whatever he says.
And they misrepresent the country. I mean, that is what we saw in this campaign. So President-elect Trump does not need to feed that beast anymore. He should create a new model, and he already has with his own Twitter. But I think more than that, he should create this town hall system where he speaks directly to Americans in small groups and where he can hear from Americans directly. I think, a lot of politicians in Washington say, oh, there's such a bubble, particularly President Obama said there's a bubble, you have to get out of Washington. But the truth is, when President Obama left Washington, he did not leave the bubble. He rarely met with anybody other than large crowds where he gave a speech, or small donor groups, or friendly journalists. Donald Trump needs to stay close to the people who elected him, but also to broaden that appeal, talk to all Americans in settings where he can hear from them.
He's not going to release his Twitter feed. He's going to continue to tell people how he feels. But I think it's cool, your idea on, keeping it going with the American people, because his rallies have been massive. I think he saw 1 million people at rallies, whereas I think she saw 10,000 in the last couple of months.
Look, and the technology gives you all kinds of options. You never have to stop being in touch now. You don't have to be trapped in the Washington bubble where you're only hearing from lobbyists and other politicians. You really can, and the mainstream media, which is going to distort. I mean, what they did this time was lie to the country about Donald Trump. And they did it in order to elect Hillary Clinton. So this is the perfect opportunity, combined with the technology, for him to reshape these press relations, not be dependent and not be a captive to the filter that they will apply to him.
Well, let's see if he's watching it and if he's thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. He is non-traditional.
That's right. Well, and perfect opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, Michael, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, meanwhile, it's the question all of America wants answered. What does Grumpy Cat think about the results of the 2016 presidential election? Well, kind of looks grumpy to me.
It just starts spewing cash, thousands of dollars in cold, hard cash. The guy who stopped to make a withdrawal looks around before taking that money and then running off. Officials say the machine accidentally dispensed more than $2,000. I'm sure that guy's going to have to pay it back. Slot machines, yes, Ainsley, just like that. And speaking of cash, did you know the more you sleep, the more money you could make? Researchers finding that catching extra Z's can translate into thousands of dollars in your paycheck. They say an extra hour of sleep per week could increase productivity and possibly lead to a 5% salary increase in the long run. I like that idea. Good excuse to sleep in.
There you go.
Or not go to work.
Thanks, Heather.
See you soon.
Or nap at work. Maybe we can start doing that. Meanwhile, let me tell you about this story. Are Nancy Pelosi's days numbered? Several Democrats say it may be time to shake up their leadership.
Kristen Fisher is live in D.C. with the buzz from Capitol Hill. Could it be true, Kristen?
It could, possibly. Good morning, guys. So Nancy Pelosi has led House Democrats for more than a decade. But after that dismal performance in last week's election, about 20 of them are now asking her to delay their leadership elections, which were set for this Thursday. Now, they're not explicitly calling for a change in leadership, but they are saying that they at least want some time to talk about it. Quote, "It is vital that our caucus take the time to listen to the American people and learn the lessons of this difficult election." Now, there's also a separate contingent of House Democrats that's calling for Pelosi to stay on as minority leader. 40 of the 54 women in the Democratic Women's Caucus. They argue that, quote, "the defeat of Hillary Clinton is an especially heavy blow to the aspirations of young women and girls. You have our support." Now, so far, Pelosi hasn't even said publicly if she wants the job, though it's widely expected that she does. With Clinton's defeat, she would remain the most powerful woman in U.S. politics, and even her former communications director says she'll likely return.
She's very good at keeping the caucus unified, and that's not an easy thing to do because there's a lot of different points of view.
Now, as of Friday, no House Democrat was willing to openly challenge Pelosi for the top leadership post. But if they decide to delay the leadership elections, that could change. Brian Ainsley and Steve?
It could. All right, Kristen Fisher, thank you very much.
She did make some initial comments that were positive about working with Donald Trump.
For about 15 minutes.
Right. So we didn't say anything else yet.
We'll see.
Meanwhile, 12 minutes before the top of the hour, coming up, a veteran's rant about all of those anti-Trump protesters has gone viral. He's up to here with them.
See, that's the problem with this country. You can't always get your way. Everybody wants to be politically correct. Quit being crybabies.
Quit being crybabies. That man, Thaddeus Alexander,